Hello everyone, here is Munir Al-Azouzi from easymedicaldevice.com, and today we will talk about remote audit with Stefan Bolleininger. So on this LinkedIn live, which will be a replay because we had the live already. So we will really explain to you what means this new announcement from the EU Commission to authorize remote audits for medical device manufacturers, if it's possible for all manufacturers also to do that. So we'll have a debate on that. So let's start. The idea of this podcast of today is mainly to discuss about remote audit. So this is something that we discussed a lot because we asked, if I can say, it was like a wish to the EU Commission to say, we want to have remote audits for our companies, and we have it apparently. But I think we have to discuss mainly about that. One thing that I wanted also to share with the people is on the LinkedIn Live page that I created. Normally we'll have. I will just try to see if I can share that here. Yeah. Normally we'll have this survey that I have created just to ask you if you are fine with the remote audits, if this is fine for you, and etc. And for now, the result is 57% says yes, if it is accepted for all, because we will see that it's not accepted actually for all. Then the second is no, on-site audit is the best. So it's key. So mainly no remote audit should be done. And then the rest is yes, only for critical devices. So mainly we are not here authorizing everybody, just the one that we really need. And the last one is no, this will have no impact. So mainly remote audit or no remote audit, there will be no impact at all. So are you surprised, Stefan, by this result?
Actually, no. But on the other hand, it's a very hard topic, and for the European Commission, it was even more harder to decide about, okay, is it now needed or not? What measures can be taken to whom, which company can do that, if it can be do circumstances to get control, because in fact, MDR was created to get more control. And therefore, it's now being remotely audited is bit lack of control on some sides. So it was very hard to discuss if that's correct or if that's a good idea or not. So yeah, I'm actually not very, I'm not surprised about that kind of results.
Okay, because mainly, as we said, so accepted for all would mean also that this is something that there is no kind of restriction, so everybody can use that and everybody can get a remote audit. So which will make it easier, but I don't see. Do you see what are the downsides of doing that?
Well, it has definitely a downside, remote audit, because in case you'll have a good day with the auditor, then you go in the evening sometimes and drink a beer with them or a glass of wine, and that's not possible remotely. Well, it is possible, but it does not make so much fun. So in that case, you'll lack of the personal interaction between the auditor and the auditee, and that is a thing which is very important and needs to be very well managed. Therefore, that is a lack, and well, yeah, we will see how it happens.
Yeah, so let's come back maybe at the beginning of all this. So mainly, we had first the situation due to the coronavirus, which makes it like notified bodies were not able at all to travel. So then to make some audits mainly. At the same time, there was a postponement of the EU MDR. So which we thought was really something that will help all the medical device manufacturers, but at the end, as notified bodies, we are not able to do audits. So mainly, it was not a good result, or there was not really a good thing about that. So after that, as everybody was blocked, MDCG created a guideline, if I remember. So just to maybe provide something. So can we make a summary maybe of this guideline of what exactly was authorized?
Sure. As there have been, until today, there have been a few more details about that. So the first thing is that MDCG 2020 2020-4. That was the guideline for the temporary special measures for notified bodies relating to COVID-19 quarantine orders and travel restrictions. The problem was we don't have much notified bodies, they don't have much resources, and they need to go forward with loads of audits and don't have the possibility to travel because of many lockdowns in many European countries. And therefore, they had the first thing, and that was only about making either surveillance audits or MDD audit. So it was the first thing, not going full way MDR doing everything. So, and then it went forward. So, okay, we need to go more details, and that's pretty funny because then was in the end of the last year was a guidance who explains the other guidance. So you have the MDCT 2020-4 was later on explained with the question and answers guidance, which was the MDCT 2020-17. So if you need a guidance to describe a guidance, there's something wrong.
Exactly, but here the first thing is that when we received this guidance, the idea was, remote audit will be authorized. And then when you read, it's like, yes, it's authorized, but not for EU MDR, if I can say. So it was like authorized for anything else, but not EU MDR. And then we're like, okay, but what can we do now for EU MDR? And I remember that when we discussed with the NSAI, so with Martin Witte from the TÜV Süd, or NSAI with Caroline Doregearty, and about the situation of notified bodies, they were saying, we can do all the off-site audits, so technical file review and everything, but we are obliged to do the quality part of the audit on-site review, and this is blocking us a lot because we are doing all those off-site reviews, so we have all the piles, if I can say, that are stacking about customers waiting for the on-site review, and they were not able to do that, and they were all asking, okay, can we have those remote audits? Now the idea is that, we authorize you after maybe nearly 1 year to do these remote audits. So beginning of January, we had this authorization. I mean, it's like an announcement. Let's say an announcement instead of authorization. So what was, if I can say, the surprise out of it? Because I was the first one. When I received the information, I said, remote audit is authorized. I said, great news, congratulations, everything is fine, etc. And I remember I had one comment on my post that said, be careful because it's not really so simple, the result thing. So then I started to read, and then we say, okay, yes, apparently it's not so simple. So what was your interpretation of all this?
When I went into all the documentation from last year, I skipped that and go now on to the new ones. The new one is and that's a funny saying. The older ones have been MDCG guidance documents. The other one is for this year was a commission's notice on application. It's different because it's now from the commissions and has a specific notification about dealing with an article of MDR and IVDR. So in this case, now we have an IVDR and MDR possibility. However, they started right now to say, limitation, only limitation. And even everyone needs to check if it's possible to fall in this limitation or not, and you need to decide about that very carefully. Same as if you use with a team NB, a team notified bodies has a very good document about how they want to handle notified body audits, offsite and on the. I don't like the word offsite audit. I like the word online audit. That's much nicer. And this is a very special situation now. And there are additional informations which are very important. For example, you can plan, you can organize, and then you have a travel. You can plan your audits. I had that last year. I had planned the audit with a client and the notified body. All fine, all worked out. Everyone was happy. Everyone wanted to go forward. Then, time came. So all the plan, all was fine. However, then we had a problem with the with the German lockdown, and that's it. Your time slot is gone because no one could travel. It was not easy to travel to the company. Same as we had last year in September, we had a client who had then one COVID case.
Okay.
And that's a problem because with that case, if you go to notified body and they want to audit you and everything's fine, you need to sign up a letter about, on-site visit is possible under the following circumstances. And then, do you know So first question is, do you have or do you know about COVID cases within your company? If your check mark said with yes, you're nearly out of the range.
Okay.
So need to go forward and say, okay, yes, I had one, but that one was old one from the past. It's not a one that is now active, so it's no problem. Okay, then do you have additional measures? For me, in my company, we made it quite easy. We have bought very big boxes of that fast, the rapid testings, so we can check every day in the morning if that person can go to the office or not. But that is something you need to deal with, into something you need to trigger. And even with the notified body, when they want to come on site, they need to have some kind of measures triggered. So now dealing with your on site or with the offline, with the online or off-site audit, it's different because now you can take it by machine. It's better in that case for making it easier for the approach to deal with information and deal with the COVID situation. However, it's very hard to deal it with the emotional things. So first thing you need to consider is, can you have an option to bring the person on site? Because that's the first thing. You need to look if it's still possible. Are there travel restriction, travel bans, or other things which quarantine orders, which cannot be taken over by the on-site audit, so you need to go to an off-site audit. If the first thing is okay, you can do that, good. Then the second step is, what is the kind of audit, what you're going to do? Is it auditing from your quality management system? Is it everything okay already? Stage one is always off-site. Same as technical file audits, always off-site, so it's no problem. So send your quality management system on-site audits or manufacturing, all of that. What is your technical measures to go forward? And there's team notified bodies had a very good explanation for that, how they want to do it by video technologies, what kind of technologies are still possible. And this is what you really carefully need to deal with your notified body. Stealing. It is what is your the opportunity of the notified body. And until now, this week, I had our competent authority with us on an off-site audit.
Okay.
They made it by WebEx. Pretty simple. They just take it's a normal protocol. Tell me, okay, tell me about your technical documentation. Let's go through that. It's also possible with a competent authority. And then they went line by line through the technical documentation online with us. Pretty funny, pretty simple, but it was cool. And that is one thing. Normally, they take unannounced audits, and that's not possible.
Yeah, this is what I was thinking. Also, I was thinking, okay, during 1 year now, we were like in a lockdown, or there was some travel restrictions. So I remember that when we had this the PIP scandal, it was like, oh, we'll put everything on an announced audit, so every company will have to be audited. Higher is the class, more you will have audits. Lower is the class, it will be every 2 years, etc., etc. So. Do we know if there was, I mean, maybe we don't know because we are not the one that have that, but do we know if there was any unannounced audit performed during that period?
For me and my clients and all the persons I know, they don't had an unannounced audit during the COVID situation. There have been a few in Germany in the August time, or July, August, where the infection rate was pretty low. So that was very easy to travel. And now, as I had I had an online audit, unannounced online audit with my competent authority for a class 1 device. So that's possible because they need to go for that. But that's the thing, the competent authority can decide that. See, as a notified bodies shall, based on the commission's notice, shall maybe postpone the unannounced audit if possible, and only if there's some rare cases go directly on site. So, see, notified body can decide based on the documentation, do they need to go on site on the unannounced audit, or can they skip it for a year? In fact, as we have in the past with MDD, skipped it all for a long time. It's 1 year problem. Actually, no.
Okay.
Actually, you should simply skip it because it's not a problem.
Yeah.
And but the notified body can decide if they want to go. However, most cases I know they don't.
So if anybody that is listening now on the LinkedIn Live, if they have any an announced audit that happened to them. So just maybe tell us if there was maybe some specific cases or specific restriction, or if there was some specific question that people were, or auditors were asking you before to arrive, or this and that, so that we can see if I can say there is a practice here that was done. Okay, so in terms of the unannounced audit, so we have, I think, a clear understanding. Now, can we remember or remind to people the conditions where the EU Commission authorized to do remote audits for medical devices? So I know that there is a list. So what are the conditions for being authorized to accept remote audits for your company?
Yeah, that is now pretty cool with the new Commission's notice, because it's very easy to understand and very clear. So first thing is, there must be no other choice.
There must be what? Sorry?
No other choice to do
no other choice.
Yeah. That means you are required to have your devices in place. So your devices are required to be continuously placed on the market to solve medical problems or real problems. It's not really, you should not think about, I can do my next new cool device on the market with a remote audit. Nope. Or if you create a startup with the first product, it's not something which needs to be continuously being on the market. So in that case, remote audit will not be possible. So it's always a case-by-case decision, and it's based on the rationale of the notified body, how they do it. However, it is very limited. You need to have the certification period for this specific product needs to be very limited. So you need to ensure that the notified body has an opportunity later on to go to you. So if you think you have a remote audit done, calculate that if it's possible, an unannounced audit will take place.
Okay.
That's something you always need to take into account, because they had not the possibility to visit you directly and look if everything's clear, which I assume that everything is clear, but then they will do it later on once they had the opportunity. So unannounced audit will be a higher rate. You get a plus on that. Then it is very identified on the case-by-case decision. So is your device really required? Is your company on that really required? How good goes it? So, okay, in case you have a company with plenty things of products, select one which has something to do with COVID-19. If your product has something to do with COVID-19, and then you go, I want to bring that product more into the market. It's very important to have that product. Is the availability of this product is very, very important. That increases your possibility to have a remote audit. And by having the remote audit on that one, since you go scoping and the technical file, all the others are on the market too. So this is your key entrance factor, is that your product is required.
So let's say one thing here, because when I read this sentence, I was thinking, if this product is required, but there is many kind of competitors, maybe some will be accepted and maybe some will be not accepted, if I can say to say things. So it's more like, this is the decision of the notified body, or it's the decision of somebody else to do that?
It's a decision of the notified body. How they justify how they justify it based on what you have delivered. What is the thing you are delivering? You deliver first the technical documentation. That's the first thing. If your technical documentation is great, and we don't think about, it's okay, it's fine, and we had a few requests after it, and it's okay, understandable. That's not the right approach. Now you need to be outstanding.
Okay.
If you want remote audits, you need to be outstanding with technical documentation. Then, if you already have been audited in the past, say, look into it, okay, how is the risk about having you now the deviation? If you have been in the past with your notified body for 10 years, and say, okay, they had within the last 10 years, we had every year 2 minor deviations, and we had no problems with them, everything's good, the technical documentation is good, since they don't see a risk in auditing you remotely. If you're now first product on the market, startup, for example, or just started a company, they don't have experience with you. And bring evidence. You need to bring evidence. So in that case, you really need to be outstanding.
So most likely a startup company that never saw a notified body before and are trying to go to market is like not really it's not on the top of the pile, if I can say, to be remote, to be audited remotely. I mean, this is important to say, if I can say, to all those startups that are starting to develop medical devices like that, because they have also their agenda. They are showing that to their investors or whatever to say, we plan to launch this and that. Here, maybe you are not on the top of the pile, so maybe your dates are not really correct in terms of launching. So it's also important that you maybe, but I suppose you have to discuss with your notified body, and then they can tell you yes or no.
Always. This for me, this is checkpoints of the risk-based approach for the notified body. A is a technical documentation, because that's the first things I see. B, do you have something from the audits from the past? If no, then you have 0 points on that. Then the third thing is your stage 1 audit, because it's always offsite. So that's the first thing. If you impress your notified body on that cases, and then they see, okay, you're required, you're very eager from your perspective, because then you can convince someone is to say, okay, hey, your product is useful. It should be on the market. We had no problems with the documentation, so we assume that our production is also very strong and we have all possibilities. And then you can convince them to be a very low risk. And if you are of low risk, then you have an increased possibility to go on the remote audit. So that's something it's just very important to make sure that you have a solid strategy and you calculate your own values correctly. However, in case the notified body says no, it's not possible, the notified body is always right. You cannot, there's no possibility to claim in that you always need to have an offsite audit. There's no option. So it's up to them to decide, and their decision is unfortunately binding. Okay,
but if the notified body say yes, you still have one level to pass.
Yeah. Yes.
But so the notified body says yes, but the competent authority has also their word to say here.
That is, yeah, in the end of the day, yes, the member state has vigilance and has to ensure that everything is good. So, but that's depending on the measures of the individual notified body and how they explain it to the competent authority. However, if you know our competent authorities, and you know the notified bodies, and if the notified body, who is the third party who shall do all the oversight, does it correctly and describes it correctly, it will pass the competent authority.
Okay.
Except there's one thing. If you sell class 2A and class 2B devices with the notified body and want to go remote audit, and on the other hand, you sell class 1 devices where you have loads of recalls, which the competent authority know because that's their duty, and you have problems on that side, they can interfere and say, hey, it's not working out. However, that is a very rare opportunity. So case-by-case decision with the notified body is mostly the right one.
Exactly. And the last level is the EU Commission. They have to be informed. But it's what I didn't understand when I read this. It's like, will the competent authority inform for each audit that the EU Commission of what they are doing, or what's the discussion here?
I like that sentence. The Commission invites all member states to systematically notify them.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm invited to notify. Okay, you invite me sometimes to speak with you if I don't take the call. So it's up to me as a competent authority now, as a member state, to ensure that I have done everything correctly and deliver data. I just need to deliver figures to the Commission to see, okay, these notified bodies take on the offsite audits. They take on the remote things. These have been the extraordinary measures they took to ensure everything's good. And this was a result by number of deviations. If that is something in the middle, then no problem, it's existing at all. If there's someone's real outlining and running out of the measures, we got a problem. But that's very, very carefully.
Yeah, so I invite really all the people that are listening, if they have any question regarding remote audits, if you have any, maybe you are maybe planning to have one, just maybe to understand, because let us know so on the comments. So I will try to catch that, and we can discuss this point. So Stefan, do you have experience with notified bodies about remote audits?
Yes, definitely. We had a lot of them last year, and fortunately not yet one this year. But because that was cancelled, because this company did not have the opportunity to take part of the online audits, the remote audit, because this company was not critical enough.
Okay.
So it simply skipped the appointment. It was planned for the 2nd February as second week of January, and they simply said no.
Okay. So good practice here, just to call a few days or few weeks ago, just to say no.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I can understand the notified body auditors. You can do measures to ensure that everyone keeps healthy, but it's a higher burden. And sometimes you need to look out what is the product, what is the burden, is that in balance. In case you find out it's not in balance, you should not do it. That's a simple thing. It's the same when I consult my clients. I have a few clients which I won't go to them right now because they're in a critical area. So that's the same I wanted to everyone to understand. So unfortunately, yes, it's bad for the company right now. It's bad for our client, it's bad for us in that case as well. However, it's understandable, and it's a long night of crying, and then it's gone.
Okay.
So, okay, but yeah, we had a lot of experience last year with the offsite audits, which was pretty funny because, yeah, we're all forming and storming in that cases. So as there are many of good tools, because everyone really now uses online technologies and online methods to communicate. So if you can communicate by it, it was pretty good. So we had a very hard strategy on which tools would be available and how can we do that. And it's very funny that old technology comes back again. You know, there's a document camera. I haven't seen document cameras since the last 20 years. So it's a camera which is placed on top of a table.
On the top, or?
Yes,
okay.
On the table. It films downside. A webcam filming downside on the table. I can place a paper under it.
Whatever you are writing or showing, then you can do that. Okay.
I've seen that in my school time.
Yeah.
So that's so funny that this technology comes back in. And when I look into that, it's all cool. And we had good discussions, good audits with a few notified bodies which have taken that chance, building it on the online side, having the possibility to use body-worn technology and body-worn cameras, which make it fun. You feel like a bit like RoboCop if you go through production, but it was fun. The auditor have been pretty good, and that's the funny thing. Everyone was after the first day and the second day, everyone was really fed up. No matter how good the combination was, no matter how good you're emotionally together with them and the documentation, at the end of the day, you're gone. You need to rest then in a very hard way.
No, I think it can be really really stressful thing, and for people that never had a remote audit, it's something where it's different really. So because you are really not face to face, so sometimes you miss some information. There is maybe some connection disruption, then how to show documents and this and that. So you have to find some kind of good methodology for that. Stefan, we have a first question just to show maybe
one thing right now. One thing on the give me 1 second, which is I think it's very important. In case some people have using body-worn cameras and so on, such things, always wear them on the body. Never use some kind of head camera. Never. Okay. Why? In case you know there's something bad or something worse in your company, you always look in that direction. And by that, you mostly turn your head, because then the auditor directly is directed to that. It's visible. So that's something. Always use it on the body, because you don't rotate the body so often. With the thing and with the body, with the head, it's more often. It's something which I found out because I've seen it after all in the recall video. So, oh my God, what I've shown him.
No, I think it's good advice. Yeah. I think GoPro or something that is. I've never done that. So what we were doing usually is that we are using our phones and we just make that like this. But I never had the kind of a GoPro or whatever to do this kind of exercise. But it should be, I think, funny, or you have really to be careful on what you are showing in for each of them. Okay, so we have a first question from Jaya Shri. So hello, how about class 3 devices? Do you think it is 100% safe to declare compliant? I think to declare it compliant. So maybe class 3 devices are high-risk devices. So do you think a review of maybe how they are manufactured or the process, etc., is done on the shop floor can be done easily for this kind of high-risk device? I imagine, for example, let's talk about pacemakers where there is many components, many parts, the assemblies, etc. It's not like just easy things to look at. So do you think it's also something that can be feasible?
How is a good question. If I would be the client, I would describe it to the notified body. For sure, we can do that. If I would be the notified body, I would think maybe differently about it. So no, at the end of the day, if you do some kind of high-risk devices, most of your parts are controlled by either system, NRTL or whatever. So you have a part control mechanism. Then you have your supplier control mechanism. Then you have your notified body control mechanism should control your supplier control mechanism and your production control mechanism. So in that case, I think it is possible, even with the class 3 devices. However, you need to have more proof, because the better the actor is on the other side, the better results you can give. So it's more than now on proof focus, and also I don't think it's impossible to audit a class 3 device online. I think it's possible, and I think it does. At the end of the day, it does not matter if it is a custom-made product, or it is a specific product class 3, or it is a class 2 product. We all need to be compliant. And by that kind of compliance, we need to check everything. So maybe it will, in that case, if it's a class 3, I would do the following thing. If I want to convince my auditors that it's a cool thing to do that, I will give him, okay, listen up. This is our shop floor. This is our way to work. These are specific steps. Draw them up in a little map. These are our steps, and then give him per step a 5-minute video. What is exactly happening there? And this you can prepare beforehand. And then the auditor has the opportunity to look into that and say, okay, yes, understood that, understood this, understood that. And then they can specifically point out, I want to have this and that and this and that. For the technical documentation part, it's all fine because they review it off-site anyway.
Yeah, so, and I think we can also say that the auditors are normally qualified or specialized on your type of devices. So they already know how maybe it's produced or how it's done, or the different maybe risk that exists. So I suppose he will ask you the right questions or ask you to show him the right things, but because maybe he will not look specifically at everything, but maybe specifically at certain spots on your manufacturing process that are really critical for him. And if I remember, it's what I discussed with, if I can say, a notified body. They said first they are doing this off-site review with all the technical documentation. They understand where are the criticality, where are the risks for the products, and then they are using that for doing the shop floor audit. So then to define where they have to work on and to scope on. So yeah, for me, I think if you have the right people, the right auditors, this can be feasible and it can be really safe. But as we said at the beginning, maybe you will not be, if it is really your first audit, your first product as a company, maybe you will not be authorized at all to do a remote audit anyway.
We say, yeah, that is for the initial audit, it's pretty hard. For the initial audit, you really need to show them that you are risk-free or really low on risks.
Yeah. Okay, so next question, we have Laurie, who said, why do you think the Commission is taking such drastic measures, knowing there is going to be a significant backlog already with EU MDR certification and last-minute EU MDR certification? Are the notified bodies just not ready? I mean,
oh wow, Laurie, thank you for the question. Anyway, I answer it, I will blame someone. So it's no. It's a combination. No one calculated COVID in. Actually, no one did. So it's okay. Then the second thing is, it was assumed to be faster in the notified body and notification procedure. Okay, happened as it is. Then the notified bodies are not that big that we can calculate them completely on for all the companies. So it was a mixture of this as it happens in the worst possible moment. In that case, so first measure was delaying MDD to MDR and hoping that COVID will go away. COVID won't go away. So now it is here. And we have then the next time to live with that. And therefore, they opened it up now. Okay, since we won't, and this is one thing which tells me with a new notice, they won't stop. And my personal opinion is the same. They won't open up an additional year. So this year is the end of the MDR. Maybe IVDR will be skipped, but MDR is gone. So MDR will happen this year, May. And then they need to take something which opens up. And hey, as we all have we have had a large step in digitalization last year. This is now a very perfect step to also introduce that on that level, because now you can't tell anyone anymore, why isn't online audit not possible? Yeah, because as you could in the past, you could tell, yeah, it's because of technology. No, technology is there. So yeah, it is not possible because of we cannot control you. Yes, you can. So now we don't have any other option. We take that, and we hope, and that's my personal hope, that this currently transient or temporary measure will be a permanent one. So maybe that's the first step, being permanent. Hope so.
Yeah.
And and yes, you're right. There is a very big backlog of MDD and MDR certifications. We need to have more auditors. So from manufacturers, please go to notified bodies and help them.
So go to notified bodies, help them to have a lot of certification, and then come back to manufacturers afterwards with your experience as an notified bodies.
Well, they don't need to go back. For me, it's good because then I have more clients.
Okay, great. No, I think it's great. Yeah. One thing also, and this is also something that I discussed during on my last podcast episode. It was about pharma industry. So on the pharma industry, and we can see that also on the blog post from Eric Volbrecht. So Eric Volbrecht was making a comparison between the decision taken by the EU Commission about for the medical devices, and what was taken as a decision from the medicine product, and mainly on the medicine, on the pharmaceuticals. It says mainly that remote audit, or they call that distant assessment. They call that distant assessment. They just say that you can have that. You just have to write on the certificate that it was granted. The certificate has been granted on the basis of a distant assessment, and then it's fine. So we see here that we are in the same region, but for two different industries, one for medical devices and one for pharmaceutical, which are healthcare companies, for healthcare business. We see here two different ways to manage the way to certify companies. So is it more dangerous for medical devices? Is it easier for pharmaceuticals? So what is the point? What is your opinion on that? Because we didn't discuss that before. So maybe just asking if there is an opinion here.
Well, the change culture of medical devices is way higher than for pharmaceuticals, because of the regulation procedure behind it, because of the registration procedure. So you change, that's what happens with a significant change now. This one for the medical devices, so you have more changes, more conflicts and changes. So that's a difference. And therefore they have, in the pharmaceutical world, you have a more stable process, because also you produce in a way larger scale. And additionally, when you look into the past, you always had a qualified person in the pharmaceutical internal structure. So you have someone already who checks and checks and checks and takes batches and takes batch control. You had that already. So in that cases, you have a bit of a different understanding on the compliance routines. And they always had way more audits by the competent authorities than the medical device manufacturer had. So this is a bit of change. Now with the medical device area, bringing it more towards them with the person responsible, with the significant change, with the audits. Yeah, it is getting more and more close. And I don't think it's very good to write on this certificate has been granted based on the distance audit. Why should it? Either it's an audit or not, either you are in compliance or you're not in compliance. It does not take a difference where you are compliant.
Okay. No, I think it's also a good point. The thing is that really the mindset looks, I mean, the regulation between medical device and pharmaceutical is really different. It's just, there is some risks that are higher, if I can say, on medical devices, because I mean, medical devices goes from, as I'm always saying, goes from wheelchair to a pacemaker, to a software as a medical device, to, I mean, a lot of things, and also combination products. So it's not like just one type of form, which is making also more risk happening. We have just a comment here from somebody in LinkedIn. So remote audits lack of all the nonverbal signs that point towards evidence that at time lead to major observations. So mainly, it's true that, I mean, if we don't see everything, we think it doesn't exist, but maybe it exists, you didn't show it only. So it's mainly the thing that can happen here.
Yes, that's one thing. I told it in another video a long time ago. The auditee in an online audit must be way stronger, because there's the adaptation to thinking of what the auditor wants, the adaptation on what happens in the company and how they can go forward with the documentation must be more precise and more and faster than on the online audit. I personally think on me, but when I think about it, when I have a meeting with one of my colleagues, one-on-one, they stay, or with a client or with a supplier dealing with documentations, and we are on the same table, say is the person searching for something, and we discuss something else, we talk about some chit-chat, whatever, then I'm more relaxed. In case that is an online communication, and the other one does not answer my question promptly, I really get very fast frustrated. And that was most auditors have the same way. So you must be way faster, way stronger in your explanations. So yes, that leads in a few times to higher and major non-conformities and observations by not bringing the evidence as fast as possible. So in the online situation, you need to have more proof, clearer evidence, and you need to deliver faster. So that all leads to that the online audit, the remote audit, is, how can I say? It is more stressful than the on-site audit, where you can have to gather a cookie and a chit-chat during your searching the correct document and look for is it's all fine.
No, it's true. And from my side, we are in Switzerland, so usually we are bringing chocolates, we are bringing things that are happening here. So we have discussions on the mountains, on the ski and everything. So it's really a lot of chit chat during the time we are waiting. But in a real audit, what we have, I mean, it was what I'm doing in corporate. We have the front room and the back room. We have a lot of people helping. How this is working on an online audit? Do you have the same configuration, like a front room or front webcam, if I can say, where we are discussing with the auditor, and in the back you have your team where you are telling them, I need this, I need that, can you send me this, can you send me that? Because I suppose one person alone, it would be really difficult to manage the auditor's question and go to bring the documents that is requiring at the same time. So it's really a difficult situation here.
Most companies don't have a front room or a back office. Most companies in medical devices are small. They have maybe one person for each auditor. They have one person on the other hand, and that's the thing. That person needs to be strong. So if you have the luck and a good opportunity to have per auditor one person and an additional document organizer, then it would be great, because then you can discuss how you do it, what you do, what's the procedure, and while the other person fetches the documents, which is pretty good. So what am I doing? I've told it, and I don't know if I have told it in one of the other sections. I use a software called Zolar. SOLR. And this one is just a PDF grabber and it's indexing. So if I want to do something and want to show it to the auditor, I index a pile of documents with that software, just indexing it, and then I had it for available. Then I have a little short front end where I just go, okay, the auditor is looking for that, I just enters its sentence, it fetches out of its own repository, because I can prepare that. I can prepare that in advance. It fetches from this repository all the documents with that specific word in it. And then I look out, it was this, just open it, finished. So that is something reactive. It's fast.
So maybe we should share.
Yes.
Is it software that everybody can have, or?
It's based on the Apache license, as far as I know. It's free software. It's an open source software that you can download. It's simply called SOLR. It's a database query where I advance to the audit. I load or index all documents. It can be in Excel, it can be in PDF, it can be in Word or whatever. And all of them get indexed, get into that audit index repository, and then the documents are fetched out of that index.
Okay.
You can also, if you want to use the software in a very clever way, you can use that on if you have a SharePoint or a file structure. Yeah. Then you simply point it to that file structure and say, okay, index everything which is below there. Then take 2 coffees or more, or a bit of beer or an evening, and then everything is indexed, and as in the morning you are prepared with your index, and then you open it from that stage exactly in seconds. So everything in the seconds.
Yeah, mainly I'm using more the SharePoint method with my team. So mainly what we are doing is that each time there is a request, we are making a number to the request, request number 1, request number 2, etc., so that people have exact which request we are talking about. And then when I open the folder, I open the folder number 1, number 2, number 3, because I know this is the folder that is answering the request, instead of opening any folder that I'm starting to search for, etc. So there is some kind of methodology to bring at the beginning, but it worked for us in terms of not remote audit. It was not a remote audit. I mean, we have made one remote audit, but it was internal. It was not with the notified body. It was internal for corporate. But yeah, I think it worked correctly.
Okay. If you do that with the back office and the front office, it's best, because then you train other people how to work with documents. Exactly. That's a pretty good thing. Yeah.
Yeah, we have Laurie that says, again, a team online with breakout rooms and separate chat rooms for back rooms. So yeah, you have to have many streams, if I can say, of discussion, one with your team, one with the auditor, and there should be, I mean, be careful to not send the wrong message to the wrong room, just to avoid some situation here. Okay, what does so Jayashri says, I have come across few companies maintaining hard copies. What is your suggestion to handle remote audits? A nightmare, huh?
Okay. In the past, I heard about something. My wife told me about that. It's called a document camera. Now we have one in the office, because then I can put on the paper. Okay. Actually, if you handle hard copy papers and you want to go into a remote audit, I do it in the same way. I use Solar. And earlier to that, I index all of the documents with OCR scanning PDF. It's simply not possible to be fast enough for an online auditor, because the online auditor wants evidence, I want it now. And therefore you need to be fast to fulfill everything. And therefore, that's what I do. Hard copy, scanning as OCR to have everything on it, then using it as a PDF, and then index it to make it searchable. That's the thing. Another tool which I just found out, thought about, was Dogfetcher. It implements the same indexing software. Dogfetcher is also freeware, as far as I know. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Another question from Luis. So I see that on the LinkedIn. So Luis is asking, so evidence is evidence. So the difference resides in how you obtain it and how that evidence will be used. A regulatory agency has a higher burden, not just documentation. For example, FDA has authority responsibility associated with the deviation. Other factors like is it systematic are also critical. So here, do we see here also a way, something that we may compare between notified body, how they are doing that, and FDA?
Well, if you work with FDA, you are used to the methods you are using with the front office and the back office. If you are not used to FDA and you are used to have only the notified body with you, then you're not used to the kind of technology and the kind of usage techniques. So you most likely don't take it so well with the back office. So, but however, the technique should be the same one. If you have the opportunity to do, you take a back office, use it.
Yeah, I think for me, the worst thing that can happen, I mean, as we say, so we have to provide evidence, we have to show evidence to the notified body, to the auditor. The thing that I experienced at the beginning of my career is the fact that, as we said, we had hard copy documentation. And the fact is that, okay, I need this document and you are alone. So you bring the binder in the front room and you open, and page per page, you start to look at one by one, and you say at the end, it took ages first to find the document. And so you are so sweating and so embarrassed because it took so much time that you bring the document and you give it to the auditor without looking at it. And then it picks all the issues that can happen, etc. Or maybe you didn't bring the right document, maybe this and that. So this is also something that can be a problem here. So
yes, definitely, because yeah, it's humanity, it's emotion, and in that cases you want to explain someone very fast because you don't want someone to wait, and on the other hand, you don't want to wait as an auditor. And therefore, you have this kind of combination on it. So if you want to go paper by paper, then you want to show it to the auditor as fast as possible. Then you bring it in, and then you show it, and then the auditor got the problem because then he sees it as fast as you do because it's just showing it, and then he grabs it and then it's gone. And that's why I won't use it. First, if you go online or remote audit, digitize everything you have and want to show in the audit. That's the thing you can do. Digitize it. You can prepare that. That's nothing which happens out of none. The audit, it's not an unannounced audit. An unannounced audit is not possible. So you can prepare your audit, and therefore you can use working students. Let them digitize your paper from the last time when you think this will be the things you want to go with your auditor. If that's possible, then you have it as a digitized version, and then use the digitized version because you can look into it and control what he's seeing.
Yeah, and mainly, as you've said, it's not an unannounced audit, so we know already the agenda. We know first we'll maybe talk about the quality policy, or we'll talk about the management review, or we'll talk about CAPAs or whatever. So first, he will ask for a CAPA procedure. So it's not like a surprise that he will not ask for that. He will ask for a CAPA procedure. Then you will check what is the list of your CAPAs. So you should have that digitalized. If you will check, maybe you will pick 3 or 4 CAPAs, then you will have to scan them maybe after, or if you can scan them all of them, then you have them, etc. So you have the agenda, so you know exactly what they will be asking. So try to do that. I mean, it's the same for an audit that we are doing with FDA. There, we know exactly what will be the agenda. We know the QSR, so we know exactly what they will be looking at the end. There should be no surprise unless you are not well prepared for that, and this will be really a problem. So if you have the chance, if I can say, to be authorized for a remote audit, so don't, if I can say, come unprepared. Don't think, oh, it's fine, we are fine, so it will be next week, or it's fine, let's see what he will ask us next week. No, I mean, don't do that. Be prepared, because it's not the objective to be prepared to hide information. The objective is to be prepared to be able to serve your, if I can say, customer, which is the notified body, because you know they will ask you a lot of questions. You know they will ask, and they will try to get the document as quick as possible. So the idea is to say, how can I serve them quickly? How can I provide them the documents quickly, etc., etc. And I think for me, this will provide really a high confidence to the auditor also, to say this company really knows what they are talking about and knows what they are doing. So
exactly.
A last comment that we have here from Robert van Boxter. So Robert welcome. Thanks for this comment. So can't wait to see the Team NB communication on the eligibility criteria for startups for online audits, as they do not have the track record of previous audits. So there is a Team NB that announced that they were working on an harmonized document. I checked yesterday. I think it's still not done, so I don't know when they will be releasing that. But this is something that we are all waiting to see, because it's a harmonized consensus, I suppose, with all notified bodies, how they are thinking of executing that. So do you have maybe more information about it?
Well, even if it's in the paper, it doesn't mean that it is real.
Yeah.
The notified body can deviate from it. So it depends on what it is. If, for example, you have a device which detects COVID by a radar, and you find sufficient clinical data and you have all of it available, and you can use that kind of device, even if you're a startup, then the case-by-case decision is always positive, because you can save so many people. I don't know if that's possible, detecting COVID by radar. I don't know, never heard of. But in case of, that's the first thing I found now in my mind. So in that cases, you're a startup, you are obliged to go with a remote audit, because if it's not otherwise possible, then it is as it is. Then someone needs to describe, my case-by-case decision tells me it's better to have this kind of devices instead of not having them, and it does not make a bigger problem if we had checked the technical documentation. It is all fine, all is cool, it's technically safe, it's clinically safe. What can happen? Can have a problem in production. Okay, so what can we do? Is that you can argue, that you can start with argumentation with notified body and tell them, okay, tell me how many samples you want from production, and check your samples directly. So it's batch approval. Still possible. With batch approvals, you don't even need to see your production.
Yeah. It's there is many conformity assessments that are possible. So you have really to go through the one that is maybe feasible for you, and then you are less struggling, if I can say. But we are all waiting for this communication from Team NB. As you said, it's not like an official law that people have to follow, but it's more understanding or guidance that people can use, if I can say, to work on this kind of thing.
If you need a guidance, so 21.4 to 21.17 MDCG guidance, then you need a notified body paper for a guide, so a guidance for a guidance for a guidance.
Yeah, no, I think it's
where are we?
Okay, so just maybe again, Luis. So thank you, Luis, because I see that Luis is a retired FDA freelancer. So Luis, so thank you. So there is the QSIT manual, if I can say. So I'm using that. I was trying to find it because I have it somewhere here. So I'm using that also. Maybe it's here. Let me check quickly.
QSIT is always a good idea. I like it very well. Especially if you look into the document which tells you how the auditor works on. However, that happens for all the audits. If you want to go FDA, always use the QSIT. For MDR, it's not in all points possible, however, most.
But for ISO 13485, it can be comparable, if I can say. It's like a quality management system review, so you can use some of those elements that are mentioned inside for that also.
Yes, but... you have, for example, also in ISO 13485, you have the topic with dealing with regulatory agencies that you don't have in the QSIT.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's not all, but if you're dealing with QSIT in a good way, you're very close. Then, first thing what I always love is MDR Article 10.9 A to M. That's all procedures you need.
Yeah, exactly. And what I'm saying here about the QSIT is mainly that in case you have never had the preparation for an audit, this can help you because it gives you exactly maybe some questions. What I'm using also is the MDSAP questions, because there is the MDSAP manual that is saying here is the question that they will ask you for this and for that. So it's also something that you can prepare. The idea is to be ready for the audit, so you should be not surprised by the question that people or that auditors can ask you. So I think thank you, Luis, and for that, because we have to do maybe not. We don't have maybe a manual specifically for EU MDR, but if you can also use other methods or other manuals that are existing in other regulations that can help you to prepare this kind of audits, and it's better than nothing. So it's mainly that.
Exactly.
Okay, so I think we really finalized here our discussion about that. So thank you everybody for the questions. Thank you everybody for that. So thank you also Stefan for the discussion. So let me know also maybe on the comments or maybe by sending me an email at info@easymedicaldevice.com if there is any other topics that you want me to cover through like this, like a question answers, so that I can maybe invite somebody and that we can really have a discussion here about that also. So thank you very much, and you will see again this on my YouTube channel as a replay, so don't hesitate to go and see that and share it also with your colleagues. So thank you, Stefan, and I wish you a nice day.
Thank you. You too. Have fun.
Bye.